Hey, hi. Hey, hi, this is Hannah again. Good afternoon, all. I warmly welcome you, all of you, for the next session. And a special welcome for you, sir, Mr. Isaac. Thank you, be with us. So, I'm hand over to Anusha, ma'am, to introduce our faculty. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Today our topic is Introduction to Communication. Today our speaker, Mr. Isaac P. Davis, he is working as a medical social worker at Thrissur, Kerala. He is a compassionate medical and psychiatric social worker with hands-on experience. He did masters in arts of social worker, and also he did diploma in psychological counseling and a BA literature, and he did certificate courses also. He is doing research and academic projects. So welcome, sir. Have a wonderful session today. We have, dear participants. If you have any doubts, please put it in chat box, and please cooperate with us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Hannah and Miss Anusha, for introducing me. So we'll start with the session, okay? So today we are discussing about communication. We are just introducing what communication is. We are not going. Excuse me, 1 minute.
Isaac, sir, we can't hear you.
Yeah, 1 minute, 1 minute. There is a technical error, I'll just correct it and we'll get back to you. 1 minute.
Isaac sir, we can't hear you.
Okay. Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Am
sir.
I? Oh, okay, thank you. So we'll start with what communication is. We are not going to going too deep into communication because we are just introducing what communication is. Myself, Isaac P. Davis. I am working as a social worker in Palliative, India. So we'll start with what is communication. So as we all know, communication is a process of exchanging information, ideas, thoughts, and feelings. Why we need to do all these kind of things? We need to exchange information, and why need to share our ideas with others? And why should we exchange our feelings and thoughts? Anyone, please. Why? Can anyone say?
To maintain IPR, interpersonal relationship with other, and trust, develop trust.
Nice, nice. Good. So as you can see, it enables connection and understanding and collaboration between individuals or groups. Why? We are social beings. We can't live without social interactions, and if we are living alone, we'll have that much consequences regarding our way of life. And as Peter Drucker said, Peter Drucker is a famous philosopher and father.
Sorry for the delay. I think some technical issues is going on. So please
Okay.
wait for 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure. Sure. Hi, Miss Anna. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now it's fine.
Okay. Shall we continue with our session?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So, Peter Drucker is a famous philosophist and he is considered as a father of management. He has stated that the most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said, which means it's easy to say, like, read between the lines. It's not always the content in communication, but rather than the content, there are a lot of other factors too. So today we will explore those factors and we will try to understand what communication is. So these are the components in an effective communication. We always talk with others, but we cannot say that it is a perfect communication. So to ensure a perfect communication, we should ensure all these things, and we should consider the last point, noise. So we will understand each point. Okay. So we'll start with sender. So to understand communication, we should know where the message emerges. There will be a source for a message, and that source is called as a sender. Here, I am the sender. I am sending a message to all of you. So you are the receiver. You are receiving my message. I am sending that message. I hope that is clear. We'll go to the second point, encoding. Many of you are aware about the things we say before we say after thinking about it, which means first we have to think about what we are going to communicate with others. So that process is called as encoding. In encoding, we will have not only the words, how we should communicate and when it should communicate, and what type of medium should be used while we are communicating. And all these things are processed in the sender's thoughts. So this process is called as encoding. So after that, the message comes. The content and the way you communicate that message comes. So in message, we are focusing only upon the content or information that we are going to share during our communication. And next one is medium or channel. Like we thought about a message, we came to understand what we are going to communicate with the receiver. So the message is there. So we need a channel, proper channel for communicating this message. These channels can be verbal, non-verbal, visual, symbolic, and all. So this channel is called as medium or channel. Okay. So the next one is receiver. All of you are receivers here who listens to me. I'm sending a message about what communication is, how we should communicate, and sender, encoding, message, and you are the receivers. So the next one is decoding. I have processed my message in my thoughts, and okay, I've thought about a message, I've communicated with you, and it includes my gestures, eye contact, tone, message, and you have my appearance also, right? So all these things are perceived by you, receivers. So you are encoding all these informations within your thoughts. You are processing what I'm trying to communicate. So this is encoding. So the next one is feedback. Is feedback necessary? Can anyone say about your views on what feedback is, and feedback is necessary or not?
सर नेसेसरी
Why?
क्योंकि सर उससे पता लगता है ना कि जो मैसेज आपने कन्वे किया था वो हमें रिसीव्ड हो चुका है और हमने उसको मतलब पढ़ लिया है एक तरीके से.
Okay, right. So anyway, I'm not good with Hindi, but I came to know that what he's trying to communicate. It's like I'm communicating a thing to you, a message to you, and you are listening to my message, but I don't know whether you got the point or not, or you got the entire message as it is. So I need a feedback from yourself. Like the receiver should give a feedback to sender so that the sender will understand what he communicated and the receiver got an idea about it or not. So feedback is necessary in a communication. So please make sure that you are collecting a feedback from the receiver while you are communicating a message to another person. And the last one is noise. It is an important factor in communication because this noise is anything that disrupts the communication process, which means it can be technical, it can be psychological, it can be physical, and it can be anything which disrupts our communication. Even it can be technological. So we have faced some technical errors. It is also a part of our noise while we are communicating. So we should understand that communication has its own process. it's easy to speak something blah 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 without thinking or without having any motivation to ensure that the message is being communicated or not. But to ensure a proper communication, we need to ensure these steps while communicating the message. So the first one is sender. I've already spoke about the process while we are making a communication. At first, the sender is encoding a message, how it should be communicated with the receiver. And secondly, the sender is sending a message to the receiver through proper mediums, proper channels. And the receiver is receiving this message. And after that, the receiver is decoding that message with all those informations collected from the sender, which means it includes not only the words said by the sender, but also the gestures, all facial expressions, and all other informations provided by the sender. So after completing this process, we should give a proper feedback to the sender, ensuring that the message they communicated with us has been received properly and the receiver understands it well. And the noise can affect all stages from the sender, encoding, receiver, decoding, and feedback. So this one is a pictorial representation of communication process. As you can see, there is a sender, a message is being communicated with the receiver, and the receiver is giving feedback. And in between, there might be some noises which disrupts the quality of the message. So these are the types of communication and scenarios of communication. In verbal communication, we are communicating with the person through words, which means we are speaking or we are writing our words and communicating with that person. In non-verbal communication, gestures, postures, facial expressions, eye contact, proxemics. Anyone has any idea about what proxemics is? Anybody? No one? Okay, no one. So proxemics is a space between the sender and the receiver. So if both of you are physically available in a scenario, the space is important for a proper communication. You should not cross the sender's, no, you should not cross the receiver's personal space while we are communicating, and you should not maintain a long distance with the sender while you are communicating, which means you have to follow a middle path. Then only a proper communication will be ensured. So the touch and appearance also matters in non-verbal communication. All these factors are essential because the receiver will collect all these informations regarding the sender and will process the message that the sender is trying to communicate with the receiver. And the next one is visual communication. We have seen a lot of signs, symbols, and images, and those symbols and images and signs will communicate with us. Anyone, can anyone state one scenario where a symbol is communicating with us? It's seen in our daily life. Anyone? Is there anyone here with a driving license? Nobody here with driving license.
Yes, sir.
यस सर है.
Yes, sir.
Wow. Nice. Thank you for the feedback. Okay. So have you tried going out in a bike or car?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can you tell me a scenario where
P parking, like
yeah, if a P is there and it's crossed,
no
it's
parking.
no parking. There is a sign, but is there any description below that sign?
No, sir.
So you came to understand that the sign is
For no parking.
communicating
Yeah.
that you should not park here, right? Okay. So it's a part of visual communication. And next we'll understand what intrapersonal communication is. For example, I'm thinking, oh, I have to end this session as soon as possible and I have to go and eat biryani. Okay. Oh, I'm thinking in my thoughts, oh, I have to eat biryani. Oh, when this session will be concluded, oh, I have to take the session 1 more hour. Oh, okay. Okay, then. So, this kind of internal thinking and self talk is also a communication where we are trying to communicate with us. So, we are communicating with us, but there is no other second person in our intrapersonal communication. I hope this is clear, right?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Okay, thank you. So the next one is interpersonal communication. I know all of you are aware about what communication is, what type of communications are there. So I'm not here to teach you something new, but I am here to give a space for all of us to reflect upon what communication really is. So the next one is interpersonal communication. It's a communication done between another person and with another person. So there will be two individuals in an interpersonal communication. The next one is team or group communication. So the group will have specific goals to be met while communicating. For example, all of you are here, I'm here. So we are making a group communication. All of us are focused upon knowing more about what proper communication is and the other aspects of communication. And the mass communication. Anyone? Any idea about what is mass communication? No one.
Sir, convey message to large group of peoples.
Oh, okay, nice.
Like when politics.
Politics. Oh, yeah, nice. Political meetings. We are using a mass
Political
communication,
meeting.
right? Okay, so in mass communication, there are television is a type of mass communication. The channel is trying to communicate with a large group of people, which means it's not a small group or it's not a team, but rather than that, the television is trying to communicate with a large group of people, which means that it is a type of mass communication. Now we are trying to understand what are the basic principles of an effective communication. First of all, respect. If two individuals are trying to communicate and one individual is not having any respect to another person and considering him as lower than the sender. Sender means the person trying to communicate. So is there any possibility that the communication might occur effectively?
No, sir.
Why?
Because the person will not listen carefully.
Nice. Then, if a person is not having a basic respect to another person, will they be able to understand the perspective of the other person? Will they be bothered to communicate a proper message to another person?
Not at all, sir.
They will be not
Yeah.
interested, sir.
Yes. So the lack of interest is also an important factor here. The respect is an utmost thing in a communication. So we should have a respect to the receiver while we are sending a message, and we are bound to provide a feedback to the sender if we are the receivers. And the next one is empathy. I would like to highlight this scenario because it is very essential for healthcare workers to understand the importance of empathy in communication. For example, if we are working in an ICU, is there any ICU staff here? Or anyone who worked in ICU? No one?
Sir, 6 months in working in ICU.
Oh, nice, nice. So you have been seeing different types of scenarios where a patient crashes and the entire team rushes into providing basic life support for the patient, and they have to address their family too, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So during that time, the team won't be bothered to have that kind of empathetic approach towards the family, and they will just go barge into the room and they will communicate the message as soon as possible, and they will leave the room as soon as possible because they consider the life of the patient as prior to anything else. But the thing is, we should have that empathetic approach. Then only we will be able to understand that family's emotional aspects. The family members might be worried about the patient, and while hearing if it's a bad news, the family might be in a distress. So providing a message without any empathetic approach will be so much destructive in nature because it does not only affects their emotional life but also their entire family functioning. So the next one is we should communicate a message through proper medium. We are in a hurry and we need to communicate a message to our colleague. As healthcare professionals, we are providing different types of handovers to another colleague. So in a rush moment, you are trying to provide a handover to another person. So it's an emergency. It's a need which has to be met immediately, and the person is going to send an email in that moment. Okay, respected colleague, I'm here to inform you that this patient has an emergency need. Is it a proper way of communicating in that moment? Do you think that it's an appropriate way of communicating the message during that scenario? Anyone?
Sir, again, repeated question.
Okay. I was asking about if you are in an emergency situation and the patient is sick and you are planning or you are providing a handover to your colleague who works on the same patient. So it's a crucial moment. I was asking that, will you be going for writing an email to your colleague during that situation?
सर मोस्ट प्रोबेबली तो हम कर सकते हैं टू सेंड ईमेल फॉर फास्टर ट्रीटमेंट प्लान.
Now you have to address the need immediately. So will you be going for writing an email? I don't think so. Because if you are going to write an email, I don't think the patient will survive.
It will take time in writing a mail.
Yeah, it will take time in writing an email, and it will take time for the receiver to receive the message and to have a proper timing for reading the message. And while taking all this, while consuming all this time, the patient might be in, as you all know. So we should have a proper channel and proper moment to communicate a message to another person. That is the thing that we are trying to analyze through the second point, through appropriate medium. We should have a proper medium, and we should not communicate without a proper medium. And the third one is clarity and simplicity. We are communicating with the patient, and we are using a lot of medical terms while communicating. And the patient is a farmer who does not have any idea about the medical jargons. So, what do you think about the communication that happens there? Will that be effective? Anyone? What do you think about it?
Sir, for them, we have to use the layman language. We can't use like special medical words in front of him. So we have to communicate in his language
We have to
capacity.
use a simple language.
Yeah,
What we
okay.
explain.
Nice. Okay, thank you. So, the clarity and simplicity of a message is essential to help the receiver to understand more about what the sender is trying to send. Next one is relevance and timeliness. Each message has its own timing. And if you are in a funeral and you are going to ask a patient's beloved one whether to have biryani or rice during their next function. So the message is there, the content is there, but it's not an appropriate timing to ask that particular question. So the timing is an important factor while we are communicating a message. And the next one is active listening. We will understand this point in the upcoming slides. And next one is feedback and confirmation. As we all discussed, we have to have a feedback about what the senders have sent to the receivers. We should ensure whether the receiver got the message clear. We should understand whether he is having any doubts on the specific message or content that the sender has communicated with the receiver. So the feedback is important, and the confirmation regarding the message is important. Okay, now we are going to understand more about active listening, because listening is a key skill in communication. So it is very essential to be a good listener. Having an active listening will help you in communicating properly. So there are different types of listenings. First one is passive. You are just there. A person is trying to communicate with you. You are just there. Okay. Okay. And the second one is selective listening, which means the sender has sent 5 points about the message, and you are only listening to two of two of those points, and the 3 points were omitted. You didn't listen to that, so it's a kind of selective listening. You are not listening to the full message. You are not understanding the full context of the message. And the next one is active listening, which means you are giving your full efforts into listening and you are trying to do your best in communication. And the next one is empathetic listening. Empathetic listening, have you heard of it? It's a type of approach we use in counseling. The counselors will take this kind of approach to have a kind of empathetic impact on the listener and the sender. Which means if a client is there and the client is communicating with us, we are providing an empathetic, active listening to the client. Which means in this scenario, the client can be a patient. So having that empathetic approach is essential because then only we'll understand what the person feels or in what context he is trying to communicate a message to us. So the active listening involves paying full attention. It's not just attention, it's paying full attention. So it's not an easy task to be an active listener. So if you want to be an active listener, you have to invest more in active listening. You have to be attentive, you have to make efforts. If you are listening properly and if you are actively listening to what the sender is trying to say, you will be tired after some time because it takes a lot of investment and efforts to listen to the sender. So the second one is showing that you are listening. Do you think that is an essential thing while a person is communicating with us? Yeah, a person is communicating with you and you are just sitting like this. Do you think that it is an effective way of saying that you are listening?
No, sir.
Yeah.
No, sir.
Yeah. Because body language matters and you have to make sure the sender understands that you are listening. So you have to provide a positive affirmations to the sender, which means you can be, oh, okay, okay. And head nodding is a part of passive affirmation that you are listening to what he is trying to communicate. Head nodding, okay, and these kind of things are essential because the sender has to know that you are understanding the message. Okay, and the next one is avoiding interruption. It is essential because if a person is trying to communicate a long message and you are interrupting what he is saying, by the way, what you are trying to say, so you interrupt that entire message and the person, we already thought about the encoding how a message should be communicated. So the entire thoughts and framework will be disrupted while you are disrupting or interrupting the sender's communication. So we should listen carefully to what he is trying to communicate with us. We have to listen the entire message, then only the sender will be able to send the message properly, and we will be able to understand the message properly. And the next one is paraphrasing. It's a micro skill used in counseling. So it will help you to be an active listener. So paraphrasing is a method we use in counseling. If a client is communicating 5 points with us, we are just rephrasing or paraphrasing the entire content and saying back to the client. So this will ensure that we listen carefully, that we got all those points that the sender has communicated with us. So the sender, the opposite person who communicated with us, will know that okay, all these things has been noted by the receiver, us. The next one is summarizing. Summarizing is also a type of micro skills in counseling. We are using this to summarize the entire content, entire message, so there won't be specific items in the message. The entire message is being summarized into a short summary so that the receiver will understand what the sender will understand what the receiver came to understand about the sender's message. The next one is clarifying. We have faced a lot of scenarios where miscommunications have tried to steal our happiness. So it is very essential to clarify each point, because if the sender is sending a message and the receiver is not taking the message as it is, the sender will think that okay, he got the message, he understood about the context of the message that I have sent, and the receiver will think in another perspective, oh, this person is trying to communicate something bad to me, but the original context of the message won't be the same. So you have to use this clarifying to clarify what the sender has communicated with us. It is essential. Some of us have, I think many of us won't be doing this thing because, oh, if I'm asking a clarification regarding this thing, the other person, the message has been sent by a person, the sender might think that we were not listening, or we might be wrong. So we will be avoiding this clarifying part in communication. It is an essential part of communication. Then only you will be able to understand what the sender has tried to communicate with us. Next one is functions of communication. Why we need communication? A lot of functions are there in the slide. But do you think these are the only functions of communication? Anyone? Anyone? I hope you can read this slide, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just go through it and understand that points. And do you think there will be other points apart from these mentioned points? Anyone? See, these are the major points that I've been trying to communicate with you. But we can't say that these are the only functions of communication. And we have to understand that each and every scenario has its own relevance for communication. So the functions of communication will get changed according to each scenario. Okay. So the major functions are, I'll read those points. Information sharing. We are sharing an information with another person who does not have an idea about that message or information. Emotional expression. We always try to express or those emotions with our beloved one. So we need proper, Miss Hannah. Okay, thank you. So influencing is being seen in political parties and religious groups. There will be influencing. So a major function of communication is also influencing. I'm just noting that examples because those are the major things we see in our daily life. And we also use proper communication for decision making and problem solving. If we are in a problem and if we need that problem to be solved, we need a proper communication, or else the problem will get elevated and the results will be destructive. Okay. So we are here to understand more about the barriers of communication. We all know what communication is, what are the barriers that we face while we are communicating a message to another person. So we'll understand or we'll reflect on the awareness about the communication that we have. So the first one is physical barriers. It can be noises in our surroundings and background noises, or the distance between the sender and the receiver, or other physical barriers which affects the proper communication between the sender and the receiver. The second one is psychological barriers. We will understand this point at the end of our session because it's an essential thing while we are communicating a message. And the next one is language barrier. As all of you have heard, one of you have communicated in Hindi with me, but I am not well. But I didn't get the full context or full message. But somehow I've managed to understand that thing because I have some base in Hindi. Otherwise, here we are facing a language barrier because I don't know Hindi and you are from a place where people speak Hindi. So it becomes a barrier in communication. Next one is cultural differences. I'm basically from Thrissur and I'm working in Trivandrum. While I came from Thrissur to Trivandrum, I have faced a lot of cultural differences between Thrissur and Trivandrum. So when I was here and started to communicate with others, the people used to shout at me. Like I felt like the people were angry at me, and I don't know why. But the thing is, they were speaking in their normal tone of voice. I'm from Thrissur, and the language barrier is not affecting here, but the cultural differences is affecting here. The tone you maintain while communicating a message is important, and the cultural barriers. Sometimes an appropriate thing in Thrissur won't be an appropriate thing in Trivandrum, which means these cultural elements are a key concern while we are communicating a message to another person. If the person is from a different culture, and the perceptual barriers, we all have our own perceptions about some things. It might be about an information, it might be about a religion, it might be about a political party, and these kind of perceptions will affect our proper way of communication, and not only proper way of communication, but it also affects the receiver's ability to understand and process the information that the sender has sent to the receiver. Okay, and the next one is technological limitations. It's a new one, right? So these days we are meeting online and we are facing a lot of technological limitations. Or else, if we are addressing a huge crowd, will we be able to communicate a thing without mic? No, it's very hard to communicate to a huge group or a mass without a proper sound system. So it also becomes a technological limitation while we are communicating a message. Here, we are going to understand about the psychological components of communication. We always communicate with others, but we are not bothered to understand about the psychological factors of communicating a message. First of all, attention. Fully attentive. We become a good listener, a good active listener, only if we are providing our full attention towards the sender. Then only we will be able to be a good listener. So, a lot of, for example, all of us are having different levels of attention, and this affects our way of communication. I might be communicating a huge paragraph, and I'm learning that entire message, and I'm trying to communicate, but a lot of distractions, noises comes in between our communication. So I'm losing my attention towards the communication. So the attention is an important factor, important psychological factor in communicating a message. Next one is perception. We have explored what perception is. Our perceptions will affect proper way of communication and cognitive processing. It is very important to understand about this thing. We might be asking others about why you can't understand what I am trying to communicate. Have clearly stated these points. Have explained well, but you are saying that you can't understand me well. Still, you are asking for clarifications. Why you are not understanding it well? So the thing is, as we have discussed at the beginning of our sessions, encoding and decoding plays a major role in communication. The sender is processing a message in his cognition, and that message is being communicated to a receiver, and the receiver has a set of cognitive skills or ability to understand that message. So this cognitive processing will be changed according to each individuals. My cognitive processing skill won't be the same as yours. So it gets changed according to each receivers. So if the receiver is not able to understand that message properly, we should change the way of presenting the message towards the receiver. For example, if we are trying to communicate with a child, we won't be maintaining a tone or content that we are using towards a parent, right? Will be it will be the same, right? It will be the same. Pardon? No feedback here.
So can you repeat the question?
I was asking if you are going to communicate with a child and the parent is also present during that communication. So, will you be maintaining the same tone of voice and the same content of the message with the parent and child?
No, sir.
No.
No.
That
Why?
is the same a communication, a pattern. The child cognitive processing is different, and the parent
Yes.
cognitive processing is different. So we
Yes.
have to make
Yes.
the
That rational emotional skills of the parent won't be the same as the child. The child might be having his own perceptions or his own cognitive skill to understand the message. So if you are going to approach the child with a serious list of messages, the child won't be able to process those messages. So you should have a proper way of communication. That's why we discussed about the proper method of communication. So the cognitive processing, I hope all of you are clear about the cognitive processing of a message. In encoding, we are using our cognitive processing skills to encode a message, how a message should be presented or communicated. In decoding, the receiver decodes the message by considering the gestures, visuals, sound, content of the message, tone of voice, body language, everything will be processed by the receiver with his own cognitive processing skills. And the next one is memory. Memory is also another essential thing in communication because we are collecting a list of informations in our thoughts and we are planning to communicate all these thoughts to another person who is the receiver. Many of us have felt that, oh, you thought about those points but you couldn't remember those things, but you forgot to tell those things. You processed all those points in your cognitive skills or cognitive aspects, but you couldn't express it properly. Here, memory is an important factor in communication because if you are forgetting what we processed in our cognitive ability or cognitive aspects, we won't be able to communicate properly. The next one is emotion. It is very and the receiver is because the sender might be in a distressed state of emotion and the way he communicates won't be the same as if he is emotionally stabilized. So the emotion of the sender and the receiver is important, and the emotion in which we are in while we are in a setting of communication is important because if if we are in a team meeting and the team head is communicating with us and we are thinking about the quarrel between our wife, oh, she has done this to me, so this will affect a proper communication and we won't be able to catch all those points communicated from the center. And the next one is attitude. Attitude towards the speaker or the listener. We discussed this point because it is very essential. If we are maintaining, we don't need to hear about all these things. We already know all these things. So, or, oh, who is he to tell all these things? So, these things, this kind of attitude is affecting a proper way of communication and a proper way of collecting a message as a receiver. And the next one is self concept. We all have tried to communicate with others, but in some scenarios we might be thinking, oh, about our self image while communicating. We might be confident, but during the communication we might think, oh, is that an appropriate way of communicating? So we might be having a self image about ourselves, so that also affects a proper way of communication. motivation. It is an essential thing. Another essential thing. All these are essential things. So it is an essential thing because the sender has to have a motivation to communicate a proper message to the receiver. Communication doesn't only it does includes about the understanding about the receiver of the receiver and the proper feedback. If the sender is not bothered about the listeners or receivers understanding, the proper way of communication won't happen, which means the sender should have a motivation within himself to ensure that the message is properly communicated with the receiver. So motivation plays a crucial role in communication. And empathy. Empathy, we all have discussed about the empathetic approach that we should maintain while communication. So here we are here to summarize all those things, and we'll later on we'll go to a discussion part where if you have any doubts regarding these points, you can ask. So considering communication as an essential thing in a human life, not only human life, in every life form there are communications, and we came to understand what types of communication are there and what is the process of a proper communication and what barriers or noises affects a proper way of communication and what helps us in enhancing our communication skills. And an effective communication will build trust between the sender and receiver. So we have to know that in counseling, the client and the counselor will have a rapport between themselves. This rapport is being built as a base of every counseling session. I'm speaking about counseling because it is an apt example of proper communication. So the client and the counselor will build a trust between themselves with the use of proper communication. And it also builds empathy, and proper communication will ensure that the message is being communicated with clarity and the receiver has clearly understood what the sender has been trying to send. And it also builds a cooperation between the sender and the receiver. And last but not least, I would like to highlight this one. Communication works for those who work at it. It's said by John Powell. You have to understand the full meaning of it. Communication works for those who work at it. It's easy to speak something without any content, any scenario, without considering any body language, without even bothering about what the receiver is trying to collect the informations, or is the receiver is able to understand all those points which has communicated from the sender's part. What I have been trying to say is that we can't excel in communication. We have to invest in ourselves. For we have to intentionally invest in ourselves to improve in our communication, which might be in our body languages, or we might be having language barriers, or we might be having lack of empathy while communicating, or we won't be able to understand or remember those messages. So all these things matter. We have to make intentional efforts into these things to improve these things. Then only we will be having improved communication during our upcoming communication scenarios. So it is very important to make invest in yourself for improving communication. So kindly invest in yourself, then only you will be improving. You will be improved as a good communicator. Okay, as healthcare professionals, it's very essential to have a proper communication skills, or else the message won't be communicated properly and the results won't be effective as we think. So these are the good books that I've read, which will be useful for you. And if you want to read further more about the communication, way of communication, skills in communication, how to improve your communication, you can refer these books. So if you want to have these details, kindly take a screenshot of this image so that you can refer it later. Okay. So thank you for the session, and I hope we want to have that last slide, right? Right? You want that last slide? No? Yes?
You can share.
Yeah.
It's very useful, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Isaac.
Thank you so much, sir. It was very interesting lecture.
Thank you. Thank you for your active listening. And I don't think that you got the entire points in your brain, but I just want you to reflect upon the points that you have heard. And you still, as you can see, the title of the session is Introduction to Communication. Okay, so I'm just introducing different aspects of a communication. So you have your own time to improve. You have to read a lot. You have to make efforts in yourself to make good communication. Okay.
Thank you so much. Dear
Thank you.
participants, if you have any queries, questions, and all, you can raise your hands. Otherwise, put it in a chat box. Everyone understood? Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It's a wonderful session. Miss Hannah, can we wind up?
Yes, ma'am. Is there any questions or doubts?
Any questions?
We'll see. No one.
Everyone saying thank you, sir. Okay. No, ma'am. Okay. Then we can wind up. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.